Right, Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Wahabraka, Kwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And this video has been inspired by a video made by Brightside originally, and it's entitled "What Happens to Your Body When You Sunbathe." Now, the true title really should have been "What Happens to a Leper or a person who is smitten with leprosy when they sunbathe." All right, because what this video is actually going into is what happens to someone who has a complete lack of pigmentation in their skin, which, as I'm going to show you in detail to you, is actually what's known as the curse of leprosy in the Bible. All right, now I'm going to get a quick scripture. 2 Corinthians 10:4. It says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahweh Shai." All right, so through these scriptures, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, we're going to cast down these false imaginations. All right, and the so-called white man, which is the Edomite man, has exalted himself against the knowledge of the Most High by what? Changing changing that which is a curse to a blessing. And what do I mean by that? Through the period of him establishing himself through wickedness, through evil, through lies, deceit, murder. All right, establishing himself, he brought forth this notion of so-called white supremacy. Now, the notion of so-called white supremacy, it basically was taught that the so-called white man is superior to the sons of God in every way. Now, who are the sons of God? The Israelites. And who are the Israelites? You so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, who are a people of color. Beginning with the tribe of Judah, the head tribe, which is the so-called Negro in America. The so-called white man has taught that he is superior to our people in every way, including his image, which is the image of leprosy. All right, and that's a vain imagination, and that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High, because according to the rule of the Most High, to look like a so-called white man, to have leprosy, is a curse, not a blessing. And the so-called white man, through his deceit and through the sword and through his wicked system, has imprinted that lie into the minds of our people. And that's why to this very day, our people hate the pigmentation within their skin. And they apply chemicals and other agents to themselves to try and basically bring themselves nearer to the image of a leper. And we could name names, Vibes Cartel, Sammy Sosa, the list goes on, male and female. But yes, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, we're going to break that down, because the truth of the matter is that if you have pigment in your skin, you are, well, first of all, that's normal. That is actually normal, because the so-called white man or anyone who has leprosy is actually abnormal. And secondly, that makes you superior. That makes you equipped to live on this earth. And we're going to show that. So let me play this video, and then through the spirit, we're going to get into the scriptures some more and break down leprosy according to the Bible. Okay, which is a curse. All right, so let's play this video, and hopefully,
What really happens to your body when you sunbathe? Getting a suntan is a highly controversial subject. Some people declare that sunbathing is bad for your health and can trigger serious diseases. Others retort that sunlight makes people happy and has various health benefits.
And it's true, sunlight does have health benefits, okay? Sunlight does affect your mood, all right? And it is healthy to absorb a certain amount of sun, okay? Within balance, all right? Within balance, within reason, all right? But I'll tell you who is not healthy for: people who have the plague, who have the curse of leprosy. All right, and we're gonna bring it out, but most so-called white people actually cannot tan. They do not tan. All right, they burn, and that's about it. All right.
Right. Let's check what really happens to your body when you sunbathe. But before you get to know the truth, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join us on the bright side of life. Surprisingly, both sides of this argument have a point. Suntanning has both pros and cons. You'll find out about the health benefits of sunbathing a bit later. First, let's have a look at the negative changes that happen to your body when you spend too much time in the sun.
If you look right here, you see this Edomite man applying this white cream. This white cream contains UV blockers, right? Because they need to protect themselves from the sun, so they apply UV blockers, cream with UV blocker in there. Now, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, and pretty much all the other nations on the planet, because we are all predominantly people of color, we have natural UV radiation protection in our skin, and that is the color. That is the purpose of the pigmentation within our skin, to protect us from harmful UV radiation. That is also the reason why, of all the people on the earth, the so-called white man ages faster than any other people, because UV radiation damages your skin and causes the signs of aging, such as wrinkles. That's why there's a saying, black don't crack. Yet the so-called white man would have had us believe that his leprosy is superior, even that it is beautiful. Okay.
Your eyes. If your eyes are overexposed to sunlight, UV radiation can lead to serious cornea burns. Such burns are called snow blindness or photokeratitis. The negative effects of this condition are likely to disappear in several days. However, if you repeatedly fail to protect your eyes from sunlight, it can result in serious complications like cataracts and macular degeneration, which is, in short, blurred vision that can lead to blindness. On top of that, when you stay in the sun without eye protection, you start to squint. By doing this, you strain the muscles around your eyes. The crow's feet that appear in this place have high chances of becoming permanent, since the collagen fibers and elastin in your skin are destroyed by UV rays.
Now notice they're showing the images of so-called white people, because this is the reason why. People who are of color tend to have brown eyes, and the brown pigment in their eyes protects their eyes from the UV radiation. People with blue and light colored eyes, such as so-called white people, they're the ones whose eyes is predominantly damaged by UV radiation. And notice one of the terms they gave for it is snow blindness, because contrary to popular belief, living in cold climates doesn't mean you are not exposed to UV radiation. Actually, during times of heavy snowfall where the ground is covered in snow, you actually can be further exposed to UV radiation. Because why? The UV radiation is then not absorbed by the ground. It's reflected off the snow and back onto your body, which is where you get something called snow burn and snow blindness. That's why you ever see the image. Let me show you, see if I can get it up for you. This is just the reality. They're trying to tell you, the so-called white people, the reason why we're white is because we was in Europe and it's beneficial to have white skin in Europe. No, it's not. All right, because you're still adversely affected by UV radiation in Europe. All right. snow burn. That's why they gotta wear sunblock when they go skiing. Alright, this person has snow burn. Let me get right. See this guy here? That's wind burn. I don't want wind burn. I want snow burn. There we go. Now, if you see the image of this guy here, he's been sunburnt while he's out skiing. That's why they have to wear these shades. All right, because they have to protect their eyes from the glare for the UV radiation, which is reflecting off the snow. All right, but if you see, his skin wasn't well protected, so he actually got burnt. And this is in Europe, in the snow. So I don't know what the hell these devils is talking about. Now, a so-called black man would have just got a little bit darker, and that would be the end of that story, because we got protection. But let's carry on.
Your lips.
What would you say, man? The confessions of a leper. Let's carry on.
Your lips are one of the most vulnerable areas on your body.
Edomite lips, or a person who has leprosy, because you have isolated peoples of different nations, even Israelites, that also have leprosy. But leprosy is a curse which is predominantly placed upon Edomites.
They usually have only 4 layers of skin cells. Other parts of your body are covered with 13 to 15 layers. Moreover, there are no oil or sweat glands on your lips. Thus, they dry out and crack during sunbathing. And that's not...
Look at that so-called black woman there. She looked younger than most of these fucking white women look when they're 20 years old.
Not all. If you occasionally suffer from a virus that causes cold sores, you may have an outbreak after sun tanning, since UV rays have a stimulating...
What is it with these Edomites and these damn cold sores? I never heard of cold sores before I came to England, man. These damn devils, man. What is it with these devils and cold sores, man?
Effect on this virus. Your hair. First of all, your hair may change color when you sunbathe. This happens because the color of your hair depends on how much melanin it contains. Too many UV rays from the sun can lead to the discoloration of this pigment. In addition, when you sunbathe, your hair loses moisture and becomes brittle and dry. Hair cuticles stand...
And that's real, these Edomites suffer from that the most. Now, blonde hair is hair which has a lack of pigmentation and is actually leprosy of the head. And we're going to get that in the scriptures, but I just want to play through this video.
And your hair becomes more prone to tangling. Your nails. When you spend too much time in the sun, your nails dry out. This makes them weak, along with the free radicals they produce, make the previously orderly collagen fibers of your face twist. Change to provide protection against UV. Your face. This is the area that gets negatively affected by sunlight the most, and the damage it undergoes is long-term.
That's why these Edomites, they age, man. They age much more than any other people on the face of the planet Earth. That leprosy, boy, it causes aging, man.
The outer layer of your facial skin becomes thicker since the cells start to change to provide protection against UV rays. These very rays, along with the free radicals they produce, make the previously orderly collagen fibers of your face twist. This results in sagging skin and the appearance of wrinkles. According to some dermatology specialists, up to 80...
My grandma was damn near almost 70, and she ain't got one wrinkle on her face. And she done lived in the Caribbean for most of her life, in the hot sun.
80% of all the wrinkles people have are caused by sun exposure. Your immune system. Few people know this fact, but after spending 6 hours sunbathing, your immune system gets weaker and fulfills only 1/3 of its typical activity. This increases the risk of skin cancer and skin infections even further. What's more, some scientists state that sunburns change the function and distribution of white blood cells.
Sunburns. Remember, it says sunburns, which is something that lepers experience. All right?
Which are supposed to fight diseases in your body. Such alterations can last for up to 24 hours after the exposure. Your skin. When you sunbathe, two types of sun rays reach your skin, UVA and UVB. The latter is the short wavelength of light. That's why they get to the bottom layers of your skin, the basal layer. There are basal cells there that divide all the time, allowing your skin to renew every 28 days. However, when you stay in the sun without protection, UVB rays reach the basal cells of your skin, which results in DNA damage. This process makes melanocyte cells, responsible for the production of melanin, move to the surface of the basal layer to protect your DNA. All you see is a beautiful tan. But at this moment, your body is actually crying for help as it's getting sunburned.
There was out here trying to talk about they want to get a tan. There was a dying, man.
This is why you should always wear SPF when you go out in the sun.
Always, if you're a leper. If you're a leper, yeah, of course, you need that.
One more unpleasant thing that can happen if you keep ignoring sunscreen is age spots. They are brownish spots on the face that appear when particular melanocytes receive more stimulation than others. These spots are typical for older people, but even young adults can suffer from this condition. It can be cured only with the help of a laser. Your blood vessels. There are numerous blood vessels situated close to the surface of your skin. Usually, you can't notice them with the naked eye. But if you sunbathe for long hours, these tiny vessels can become visible because they dilate. When you're overheated, your blood vessels expand to cool down your body. Sometimes they have to expand so much that they simply can't retract afterward. As a result, they may break, or you may be left with a visible net of blood vessels on your chest, around your nose, and on your cheeks. Risk of melanoma. After getting sunburned, your body tries to repair itself. It must decide if the damaged cell is beyond repair or if something can be done. If the cell can't be helped, it dies. But if there's still hope, it may try to repair itself. The danger is that while doing so, the cell may turn into a defective cancerous cell. In this case, basal cell carcinoma, a very widespread type of cancer in the U.S., may develop. As for the infamous melanoma, it develops when melanocytes undergo damage and start to divide. They're not meant to do this, but overexposure to sunlight can lead to this terrible result. All this sounds ominous. But remember that if you get healthy doses of sunlight while wearing SPF, you can enjoy several great health benefits of sun.
Okay, so there's a little bit of hope out there for you lepers. Okay, but let's get into the scriptures, man. All right. These devils, man. All these years, man, he's been lying. But the truth will always be revealed, man. You devils, you lepers, you're cursed, according to that. Now, this is Leviticus 13, man. All right, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, when a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy. All right, so let's look up the word plague. See if it's a blessing, something blessed. Right, plague. Means a stroke, plague, disease. Oh, look at this, a mark. Kind of like the kind of mark the Most High put in Cain. All right. Stroke, plague, disease, mark, plague spot, stroke, wound, stroke, mark of leprosy. All right. Let me see. Blow. Also implication of spot, plague, sore, stricken. It is stricken. Look at all the things that go wrong with you just simply because you got leprosy, man. You got no pigment in your skin. You got problems, man. You got problems unless you're living in a cave somewhere underground, which that's where you find it. When they go into these deep caves, most of the animals in these caves don't have any melanin. You know, their bodies don't produce melanin because they don't need it, because they're in the dark like 24/7. You know, the fish and the shrimp ain't got no melanin. Why? Because they're not exposed to the sunlight, man. So that's where you Edomites belong. You belong in darkness, man. You belong in caves, you know. All right. That's the point on that. But it's like a plague, man. It's not nothing good. It's like a disease. And you got different types of plagues, not just leprosy, but leprosy itself is a plague in the form of a mark. It's something that you can see on you. All right. And it being skin and flesh like the plague of leprosy. Let's look up leprosy. You see, because what they term to be, what the so-called white man medically terms to be leprosy today, is not what the Bible calls leprosy. If you look at the description, the diagnoses, if you look at the diagnoses of what they call leprosy today, it doesn't match up with what the diagnoses of leprosy in the Bible is, because they're two different things. All right. They'll tell you that leprosy is something where your nerves, it's a nerve disease, you know what I mean? So no, it's not a nerve disease in the Bible. It's a skin disease. And we're going to show you that. So, hold on. Didn't I click on the word leprosy there, man? What's going on? Yeah, there we go. My bad, my mistake. Okay, leprosy in people is a malignant skin disease, or in clothing, a mildew or mold, or in buildings, a mildew or mold. So leprosy of the clothing or in buildings is mold, which causes a discoloration according to the color of the mold. All right. Leprosy in the skin is a malignant skin disease. It's got nothing to do with your nerves, man. It's a skin disease. All right. Leprosy, as to the etymology, see the root, both of men and then white. Okay. For the black, leprosy is elephanti. See, I don't know what they're talking about there. And of houses. Yeah, okay, that's the point on that. So let's go back, and then we're gonna go through the diagnoses of leprosy in the Bible and show exactly what they're talking about. Okay, so if they got this plague, this mark of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or onto one of his sons, and they basically would be like performing the role of a doctor. They would diagnose this person to see what type, if they have it, and what type of leprosy they have, and then they would, you know, do what the Lord said accordingly. So, and the priest now, and this goes for anyone. So you can even, there's different types of leprosy, of course, which we're gonna read, and you even had Israelites that had leprosy. So leprosy is not something which is only an Edomite can have, but Edomites are cursed as a nation predominantly to have leprosy among them. That's just what it is. All right. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight deeper than the skin of the flesh, his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy, and the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. So having a certain type of leprosy, all right, makes you unclean. So you got a spot. You had lack pigmentation in parts of your body. So you declared unclean. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague even 7 days. So they might see, well, hold on, this might not be leprosy. It could just be that he got cut or whatever, and it's taking some time for the skin to recover its pigment. So we're going to lock him up for 7 days and see if it heals. And the priest shall look on him on the 7th day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, meaning it's not growing, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 more days. And the priest shall look on him again the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, meaning the pigmentation is returning to the skin. Let's look up the word dark. Darkness is, all right, we got the word dark, meaning dull, colorless, be dark, faint, somewhat dark, darkish, wax dim, heaviness, smoking. So it's getting a bit darker, which proves that the Israelites are people of color. Okay, boom. All right. So before it had a distinct lack of pigmentation in that area, and now it's starting to get the pigmentation back. Okay, I think we've all been there where we've had a deep cut or massive graze, and for a while you don't have no pigment in that area. But slowly, the pigment starts coming back over a period of days. All right. Similar kind of situation here. And the priest shall look on him on this and the priest shall look on him again the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. Why? Because it's not leprosy. It is but a scab. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. So it basically, he damaged himself, and it's healing. All right, let's look at the word scab. Okay, eruption or scab. Okay, scurf, a place in the body affected by a scab. Okay, so it's gonna heal. But if the scab be spread much abroad in the skin, after that he have been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. So if he starts spreading after that, then you got issue there, because that shouldn't be happening with like a scab. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. So he's got leprosy in the skin. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the rising be white in the skin, all right, which let's look this up. Rising be white in the skin, man. Laban. Okay, so you got white in the skin. All right, let's go. So the man ain't got no pigmentation. Where we at? Right in the skin, and it have turned the hair white, so there's no pigmentation in the hair either. And there be quick raw flesh in the rising. All right, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall shut him up, for he is unclean. The quick raw flesh is like similar to what happens when these devils get their sunburn. The first layer of the skin is removed, so they get the quick raw flesh. It says, and if leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague, from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white, he is clean. So what does that mean? It means that if you have patches of leprosy, patches of lack of pigmentation in your skin, then you are deemed to be an unclean leper. But if, like the so-called white men, for instance, someone like Brad Pitt, or someone, they would be considered to be a clean leper. They still have the curse of leprosy, but it would be considered to be clean because they have the leprosy over their entire body, right? They have the leprosy over their entire body, and their hair is still has pigmentation. So like a so-called white woman who's a brunette, she would be considered a clean leper because she has the lack of pigmentation over her whole body, the leprosy, the curse, but her hair still has pigment. But when raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. That means when they get sunburn and the first layer of skin comes off, they're unclean. Like, let me show you what we mean. Sunburn. I'm gonna give you an example. See like this individual here? Yeah, that's the raw flesh. His first layer of his skin is actually being removed. It's been cooked off. Yeah, the first layer of his skin has been cooked off. Yeah, he has become unclean. All right, that's the raw flesh. Yeah, this clown right here. All right, they're unclean. So when they get burned up by the sun and the first layer of their skin is removed and that raw flesh is revealed, all right, they have become unclean until that heals. All right, and the priest shall see the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean, it is a leprosy. Or if the raw flesh return again and be changed unto white, he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And if, behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague, he is clean. Right, the flesh also in which even in the skin thereof was a boil, and is healed, and I showed you some of those boils. And in the place of the boil there be a white rising or a bright spot, white and somewhat reddish, and it be shewed to the priest. And if the priest seeth, behold, it be in the sight slower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy broken out in a boil. So you might have a guy that, you know, they might get some kind of so-called black man get some kind of disease, and they get boils, and then after the boils they lack pigmentation in their skin. That's a leprosy, okay? But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hairs therein, and if it be not lower than the skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. So the same process. After a person of color gets boils or whatever in the skin, and, you know, it might be a bit light afterwards, but if the color starts coming back, they'll, you know, put him away, check him again, and if it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a broad plague. But if the bright spot stay in his place and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. And if there be any flesh in the skin whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh that burneth have a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning, wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. All right, and most of this applies to, again, a person of color who, for the reasons stated in the verses, ends up having this lack of pigmentation, okay? But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it be no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days, and the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. And if the bright spot stay in its place and spread not in the skin, but is somewhat dark, it is a rising of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is an inflammation of the burning. All right, so that's pretty much the law, the different variations of leprosy. All right, which is all to do with a lack of pigmentation in your skin. All right, and that's the bottom line. And like I said, they were lepers recorded throughout the Bible, even of the nation of Israel, right? Mainly unclean lepers, but even clean lepers were recorded. That's why you got Israelites even to this day that do have the leprosy, so they look like Edomites, but they're really Israelites. Now, it says, if a man or a woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it yellow thin hair, which is blonde hair, okay, blonde hair is yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scall, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. So blonde hair is really an unclean leper. Now remember, we showed you before that if you if you have so-called white skin, so you have a lack of pigmentation across your whole body, you're actually a clean leper. You have a curse of leprosy, but it's clean. And then obviously when you get the raw flesh from a sunburn, you become unclean until it heals. Now in this case, you could have the leprosy all over your body, but if your hair is blonde, then you're just unclean. And that's what the scriptures are telling you. And if the priest look on the plague of the scall, and behold, it be not in the sight deeper than the skin, and that there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut him up that have the plague of the scall 7 days. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the scall spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the scall be not in the sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the scall shall he not shave, and the priest shall shut up him that have the scall 7 days more. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the scall, and behold, if the scall be not spread in the skin, nor be in a sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scall spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the scall be spread in the skin, the priest shall not seek for yellow hair, he is unclean. All right, and then it goes on and on and on and on. So it goes through the different forms of leprosy. All right, now let's get the account of Miriam. I believe is Numbers. Was that Numbers 10? 12 actually. 12. Right, Numbers 12. Now Miriam was a so-called black woman, the tribe of Levi. All right, dark-skinned tribe of people. Now I'm going to go into all the different ins and outs of what happened, but let's just jump to the point. Numbers 12 and 9. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous. It's white as snow. So she was stripped of the pigment in her skin. And more than likely her hair too. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. More than likely, it weren't just her skin that was stripped of pigment. The Lord probably stripped her completely, so she became a so-called white woman, man, a blonde-haired woman, albino. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, or of whom her flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. Meaning, like a baby, a dead, stillborn baby, man. No pigment, no nothing, just hurt. All right? And that's the point. So, these devils, they like to lie, and, you go to, the information and skin color, and, you read this stuff, and it's just, just a bunch of lies, man. Humans, let's read through some of this stuff. Human skin color ranges in variety from the darkest brown to the lightest hues. An individual's skin pigmentation is a result of genetics being the product of both the individual's biological appearance and genetic makeup and exposure to the sun. In evolution, and that's what anytime you see them, they mention evolution, they're about to lie. Skin pigmentation in human beings evolved by the process of natural selection, primarily to regulate the amount of ultraviolet radiation penetrating the skin, controlling its biochemical effects. And like I already showed you, there's no actual benefit to having no pigment in your skin, no matter where you live. It's dangerous for you. Alright? Now, let's jump that. Look at this madness. Evolution of skin color. And this just proves that the so-called white man is the devil. And they start talking about loss of body hair and the hominini species and all this bullshit that they have no proof of, that doesn't exist. 7 million years ago, all this BS. There's no evidence for any of this. It's just inference and lies, man. All right. Look at this image: reconstruction of a female Homo erectus based on fossils dated 1.5 million. That's some bullshit, man. All right, some BS, man. I could go into it. How that whole timeline is based on what was his name? Not George Cuvier. Was it George Cuvier or Charles Lyell? One of the two of them. George Cuvier, Charles Lyell's principles of geology, man. That's where all that bullshit. Recorded history is only 6,000 years, and that's the bottom line, and that's in line with the Bible. All right, I don't know what the hell these people are talking about. Now it says, now according to the so-called white man, having dark skin was actually something that came about after people were first made. It's just BS. Look, the emergence of skin pigmentation dates to about 1.2 million years ago. Yeah? So what they're trying to say is prior to 1.2 million years ago, people never had no skin pigmentation. So what, there weren't no sun? These people are taking the fucking piss, mate. What planet are these devils from? And people eat this shit up like, oh yeah, because this is devil. But you see, the authority of this devil is about to be removed, man. But this is absolute madness. It says, when the Lord created man on the earth, when he created all the animals on the earth, he created them with pigment, okay? Every animal, every plant, they all have different pigments in order for them to survive and live on this earth. Whether you're talking about trees or everything has pigments, even the animals, okay? And then every once in a while you get an anomaly, an abnormality, which is the production of an animal or a plant without pigment. And they usually die in the wild, okay? And don't tell me about polar bears. Polar bears have dark skin, okay? All right? If you don't believe me, Google it, all right? They have dark skin, but they have see-through hair. All right, that's this is madness. Such conditions likely cause excess UVB radiation. Such conditions like this favored the emergence of skin pigmentation in order to protect the folate depletion due to the increased exposure to sunlight. A theory that pigmentation helped counter xeric stress by increasing the epidermal permeability barrier has been disproved. With the evolution of hairless skin, abundant sweat glands, and skin rich in melanin, early humans could walk, run, and forage for food for long periods of time under the hot sun without brain damage due to overheating. Actually, the afro hair, having an afro actually protect. It's like a natural hat, and it protect. What would actually kill you in extreme sunlight or a hot temperature? It's not really the UV radiation. It's your brain being cooked by the heat of the sun. That's why if you live in those kind of conditions, you tend to wear a hat or have your hair in such a way as it protects you from the sunlight, put your head from direct sunlight, which will cook your brain and give you a heat stroke. Okay, under the hot sun, it's really, these devils, man, under the hot sun without brain damage due to overheating, giving them an evolutionary advantage over other species. Ooh, this is all bullshit, man. It's BS. Look, man, every animal has their pigmentation, okay, and that's the bottom line. That's how they were made by the Most High, okay. All right, having pigmentation is normal, and everything was made with it because we all have to live under the sun. All right, bottom line. So all this bullshit about 1.2 million years ago, all this crap, this is all BS. This was the genotype. I'm starting from here. This was the genotype inherited by another anatomically modern humans, but retained only by part of the extant populations, thus form an aspect of the human. Blah 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 blah. All right. Homo sapiens began to migrate away from the tropics to the north, where they were exposed to less intense sunlight. But we already showed you that you get snowburn and snow blindness even in Europe. So they got to try again. All right, you just because you move somewhere that has less sunlight doesn't mean all of a sudden everyone's gonna start turning into so-called white people. Okay, that's bullshit. If it's in your genes to be of a certain color, it's gonna stay that way. Your outward environment, your phenotype, isn't gonna change your genotype. Okay, you're gonna start dropping dead because you're a person of color living in Europe. And they tried to come up with this bullshit about vitamin D deficiency. Like, if you got dark skin, you're going to have vitamin D deficiency, which has since been disproven as a lie, because they tested so-called black people and so-called white people's bloods, and they found that there really is no difference in the actual active form of vitamin D in the bloodstream that your body needs. So all that vitamin D deficiency crap was all bullshit made up by the so-called white men to try and make us look inferior, but we're not. Okay, we can live in any climate. Having pigment in your skin is good in any climate. All right, anywhere that is on the face of the earth, which is bathed in UV rays every day, except maybe the deep Arctic, which for half of the year is in the dark. But what about the other half of the year? It's in sunlight all day. It says, in addition, lighter skin is able to generate more vitamin D. Again, they've already proven that the amount of vitamin D you need in your bloodstream there's no difference than darker skin. So it would have represented a health benefit. So all of a sudden everybody turned white. It's BS. Over millions of years, or no, bro. People ain't been living in Europe for millions of years, okay, or hundreds of thousands of years. All right, so let's stop this madness. All right, you so-called white people came about through your forefather Esau, who was born with the curse of leprosy, and that curse stuck on your people, man, generation to generation. And that's why you got millions of so-called white people today. Point blank, period. All right, and then, you know what? You could read through all this bullshit, but it's all bullshit. You so-called white people, you are the way you are. Predominantly cursed with leprosy, and it goes back to Genesis, the 25th chapter. Right, the birth of your forefather Esau, who was cursed with leprosy, and so were his sons and his daughters, man. Even if they got with people of color, the Most High made sure that curse sticks, so that they could build up a large population of lepers, so that curse would be there for all to see. Because realistically, the first so-called white person, really, ultimately, there shouldn't be no more after that, because they would have to get with a woman of color. So how did they build up a large population of so-called white people? Because the Most High put a curse. He made sure that mark was upon this people, man. Because they're a cursed people. They're the wicked that the Bible speaks of. And it's to differentiate them. Genesis 25 and 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other. And that's the nation of Israel. We're stronger than the so-called white men, mentally, physically, okay, spiritually. All right, we're the more intellectual people. Okay, once we're in a condition where we are given to learning, we are way more intellectual than the so-called white man. All these lies that he's told are just a low IQ. Of course, a Jake gonna have a low IQ when you don't teach him nothing, and you put him down. When you turn him into a chattel slave. But when it comes to excellence, man, just look at the so-called Nigerian. They're the number one people in academia. They don't like to talk about that, because we are the superior people, man. You devils, you're inferior in every way, and you about to go down any damn way. In fact, going down ain't even the right way. You about to be exterminated, man, in a very short space of time. You know, a couple thousand years from now, you devils won't even exist. All right, you're just gonna be like a story. That's what you're gonna be, history. And the elder shall serve the younger. So you devils, rightfully, you should be serving us. Okay? All right? And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. Yeah, you so-called white people. Because you go from a pale whitish color to a deep red, depending on the amount of blood that's flowing through your skin. Right, all over like a hairy garment, because we had garments dyed red back in them days, and they called his name Esau, Ashashua, which means wasted away is he, because your skin was wasted, man. All right, and after that came his brother out, Jacob, which is a man of color. All right, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the significance of the hand, which, by the way, if you want to, this is a good, type in this title, vitamin D deficiency might be overdiagnosed in blacks, study suggests, and you see that Esau has been lying all these years about this vitamin D deficiency crap. All right, we ain't no vitamin deficiency people, man. Get the hell out of here. But anyway, let me get, Second Ezra, the 6th chapter, the 9th verse. Just to explain that scripture, then I'm gonna get out of here. Second Ezra 6 and it should be 9. Yeah, for 9. Let's start from 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world. So you devils, you were destined to have your time at the end of the world, and we at the end of the world, and this is your time. This is your time to lie and do whatever the hell you want to do. And the Lord have afforded you your time to do so. He's afforded you your time to be in authority, your time to lie, your time to steal, your time to commit your wickedness. And you've enjoyed that time and you've done your evil. Okay, but guess what? And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, meaning your world is going to come to an end. Your time will come to an end. But Jacob, we're going to be the beginning of it that followeth. And it that followeth is forever. All right. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to say shalom.